Hello, everyone. Let me just adjust something here. It is Wednesday. It is time for our live show in Optimize to Thrive. If you are not a member of the Facebook group, I do invite you to join us over here. I go live once a week. Everything is organized. In terms of content, it's easy for you to access and just put in a few posts a week to keep things on pace. So it's not like some of the much larger groups out there that are very crowded. So just want to put that out there for you, that you can join the group anytime. This is also live streamed to YouTube and to LinkedIn. So if you are joining us from there, thank you for joining us and welcome to the new members of the group. I will be getting you guys teed up and tagged in some information based on your interest when you joined the group. I had an intention around what I was going to talk about today, and last night it just came to me to talk about something different. And what I'm going to talk about today is probably going to be more geared towards those of you who are conscious entrepreneurs. However, even if you're not, I want you to consider this. We go through life seeking a sense of purpose. It's something that's innate in us, that we feel more satisfied when we are following a purpose and when we basically have a reason for being. Now, that purpose can look like a lot of different things. And with me being a spiritual person, I know this sense of purpose as a term called Dharma. What is our Dharma? And it's something that as people seek to create a life that is fulfilling, to create a life that has a sense of purpose, on the quest for happiness, for joy, for peace, we can get into really questioning what is our Dharma. Because the first time we hear about it, it's something that's intriguing when it's new to you. And for many of you in this group, I know you, and this is not going to be a new concept to you. And I really want to talk about Dharma a little bit because, we have the conscious piece of our lives. We have the subconscious piece. But whether we choose to embrace it or not, there's also the soul aspect, the spiritual piece, or the universal principles that we choose to follow. Some may even call them philosophical principles that guide us and lead us on that path. In some of the circles that I'm in, there is this strong belief, this sense, maybe even I hate to use the word misunderstanding, but this thought or perception that in order to embrace our Dharma, in order to find our Dharma, then that means we must start a business. We must be an entrepreneur. Or if someone is already an entrepreneur and you've gotten to a place in your business where you're no longer feeling satisfied, you're feeling like your business runs you instead of you running your business and those types of things, we can begin to feel that we're not in our Dharma, and we can question if we're doing the right thing. And I'm wondering if you could consider that Dharma doesn't necessarily have to be your business. Your Dharma doesn't necessarily have to be your career or your profession, if you're someone who still works for someone else, but that your business or your career is the vehicle that allows you to live your Dharma. There are people out there that their Dharma, because our Dharma can change, their Dharma might be to be the absolutely most nurturing and loving stay-at-home mother that they can be. Someone's Dharma might be to step out, to be involved in charities, Habitat for Humanity. Maybe in their spare time, they sit on advisory boards for NGOs, non-government organizations, helping to fundraise, to send a message. So our Dharma may not necessarily be our business. It may not necessarily be our career, but those things may provide us with the schedule. They may provide us with the financial means to be in that Dharma that is so important to us. And our 3D mind, our thinking, the stories that we get into around what this purpose has to be, what other people are going to perceive around that purpose, can cause us to not see it when it's right in front of us. In other words, there could be an opportunity that comes to us that could be extremely fulfilling and could be on the path of our Dharma, and we don't recognize it for what it is because our beliefs, the things that we've been taught, our fears around what someone may think, someone may say, we allow that to cloud what it is that we are here to do. Now, I'm going to use my own personal path as a little bit of a story because my path has changed very much. When I got out of high school, I had no clue what I was going to do. And I wanted to fly planes, but then I had to get glasses. And the Navy, who was going to give me a full ride to college so I could become a pilot, said, sorry, you have glasses, you can't fly. So for a couple of years, I had no idea what I was going to do, but the universe, being what the universe is, kind of kept pushing me around and banging me around. I was bumping up against things where I ended up going to nursing school. And I went to nursing school for me to know that I would be doing something that provided financial security. But I love taking care of people as well. And nursing became my passion. Helping people heal, being there for people became that passion. That eventually evolved into a transition into anesthesia because I wanted to be able to give my best to one person at a time. And then it was in anesthesia where I had my first exposure to energy medicine. And I learned about Reiki and kind of had this curious experience in the operating room where people having healing touch, Reiki, or doing certain mindset work before their surgery. They were taking less anesthesia. They were waking up more quickly, more comfortably, and were discharged more quickly from the recovery room. Now we're talking like 5-10 minutes, but that's huge. It was in anesthesia and after going down this path that I found out about hypnosis. I never had any intention of being a hypnotist. I never had any intention of running a hypnosis practice, but I allowed myself to be curious. I didn't, even though people thought it was funny, they thought it was a joke. I had surgeons who laughed at me. The anesthesia doctors who I worked for, a few of them were quite a bit, passively aggressively condescending. And I just kind of looked at it and laughed because once I experienced what I experienced, I knew this was important. But if you had just come up to me and said, you know what, Penny, you would make a really great hypnotist. I think this is something you would look into. I would have laughed at you. And I probably would have immediately dismissed it. So what shifted? I just allowed myself to be curious, to do something that interested me, and then it just ended up going in the direction that it went. And for a long time, I had a job while I was practicing hypnosis until it got to the point that that wasn't tenable for me anymore. But I know people who love hypnosis. Hypnosis is their Dharma, and they still work their full-time job. They just do it part-time. They don't want to do it all the time, but it's the thing that brings them joy. Your job provides them with the insurance and those types of things that they need. So when you're looking at your Dharma, you have questions around that and your sense of purpose, and you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing more to help people, but and you know what, it just popped into mind. I actually had this conversation with someone this week. or earlier this week. So yeah, this is tying back to some things, but we can be in a job where we're actually serving people. We're doing good in the world. We're bringing joy to people. We're creating expansion in their lives. And it doesn't necessarily look like hypnosis. It doesn't necessarily look like coaching. It doesn't look like therapy or Reiki or energy work. So I used to have a bookkeeper. He changed his niches and kind of went down. He stopped doing bookkeeping. He does fractional CFO now. But before that, like, he was really passionate about numbers and helping people be successful in business with their numbers. That was his Dharma. He loved numbers. And then he kind of niched down, and now he works exclusively with church organizations in that aspect. But you may use art to bring people joy. You might help people design their spaces. So I don't know if you watched the podcast interview that I did with Annie Kirk. She helps people create sanctuary, and she was on quite a journey before she got there. I encourage you to go listen to that podcast episode. I believe it's number 125, because she talks about her journey to doing what she does now. And a lot of that requires letting go of what other people think, letting go of the beliefs that we have around what it looks like. Because if we embark on a spiritual journey, if we embark on a personal growth journey, we can actually shift our expectations of what we believe it means to live our Dharma. And we could actually be in our Dharma. It's just somewhere along the way we lost the appreciation for what we do. And maybe we don't recognize the opportunity to take what we already do and to allow it to blossom into something a little bit extra, right? So that we're still getting that same fulfillment. So when we're looking at Dharma, curiosity is so important. To allow yourself to play, to have fun, because that's what we're here to do anyway. And there are people out there. Brad Lee is a coach that I follow, and I've listened to some of his podcasts, seen some of his YouTube, and he absolutely loves coaching entrepreneurs. He runs a lot of businesses, but he loves coaching entrepreneurs. So he has his hugely successful businesses, but his Dharma, what's really fun to him is to share his knowledge, to share his wisdom with other people. But his coaching is not his primary source of income, right? It's his experience and his businesses that allow him to do that, right? So there are different ways that you can address it. And if you're having confusion around your Dharma, if you're having confusion around your purpose, the first thing I would ask you is to explore what it is that you want. Most people, when they reach out to me and they're having confusion, the first and biggest thing is that they really don't know what they want. And when these people become clients and we dive into the identity work, a small percentage on that first session, we don't exactly sort it out. But for most people in that first session, doing some identity work, we uncover what it is that they really want. What it is they were always afraid to say what they really wanted, because there are all these stories and constructs around what's right, what's acceptable, what should I want, how should I behave. It's the domestication and the indoctrination that we go through in life. So the first thing is to get clear on what you want. And 9 times out of 10, when you really dig deep, it's more about who you want to be and what it is that you want to share with the world. That's the deepest point there. The other thing is to think about what brings you joy, what lights you up, and what are the stories that you're carrying around that. Because For example, my husband loves woodworking. He hasn't done it in a while because of the farm, but when we were in Connecticut, he would do woodworking all the time. He would build beautiful pieces. And I said to him one day, I said, once in a while, why don't you do a custom piece for someone? Because you do such beautiful work. And he was like, well, then it becomes a job. It's not for fun anymore. Because he has this story. And if you're watching this right now over on YouTube, honey, I'm sorry. He has this story around the fact that when you do work for someone else, they're going to nitpick it. They're not going to be satisfied, in that it becomes a chore instead of being something where he just gets to be creative and express himself. And yes, while people have expectations, this is what he carried with him, and that's okay. I think at some point as business owners, we can all carry this with us. So, when you're looking at what it is that you want to do, take a look at that. And this leads me into another story. Excuse me. When I was a travel nurse many, 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 many moons ago, I was traveling at a hospital, and talk about Dharma and being able to make a bold move to do what makes you happy. And there was this physician. He was at the end of his second year of residency. His father, a well-known cardiologist who lived in another part of the country. But I had a patient that night, and the patient was coming, to the end of their life. Not imminent, but within hours to a day or two. And I had called him because there had been some changes, so he had to come talk to the family. Very compassionate man. Having, even as a second year resident, having difficult conversations and doing it with class and compassion and ease. I mean, he had what it takes to be a phenomenal physician. But after he'd had that conversation, he was sitting at the desk and he was charting, and we were talking, and he told me, he said, I'm leaving residency. And I'm like, what? He goes, how do you think I handled this? I think you did fantastic, but what are you talking about? He goes, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to build furniture. I want to build furniture. And I thought that was cool. I'm like, man, do what you love, right? Well, come to find out, a few years went by and a children's museum opened up in that town. And I never took the kids, but I think Ron had taken the kids, dropped them off at a birthday party or two there. But the exhibits in this kids' museum were all woodworking, and they were all handmade. This doctor who left his residency to pursue his passion of woodworking and furniture building had built out everything inside of that Kid City museum. And when I found that out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I always wondered what happened to Ted, like what he did. So he took his Dharma and he partnered with someone, and they created this place where kids could go and have fun, and they could climb and engage their senses and do all the things that kids do. So that's just an example how for some people, the stories of what we have to do lead them down one path, and then you realize, oh man, I need to shift gears. This really isn't what I'm here to do. Let me go over here and do what I love and take a chance on yourself. But in the same token, sometimes the stories that we carry actually cloud us from the fact that there is something within what we already do that is our purpose. So that's something that you get to explore on your journey. In your growth, your exploration is a part of shedding these beliefs, shedding these stories and interpretations, fears that may come up, which is where the subconscious work comes in and where the conscious work comes in. So these are where the pillars, the expansionology framework, come into play. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. I'm looking at some of the comments, and I see that this is resonating with some of you. And it's funny how the universe puts out energy, how the collective consciousness works, how the quantum works. Because this morning I saw a member who just joined this group this morning, on his Facebook post, he commented something about, you know, our purpose. And I'm like, oh my God, like literally I laid down last night and this is what you're going to talk about tomorrow in the Facebook Live. And this was not planned. So there's a theme going here. So I would encourage you to be open, to take time to maybe get into some silence, to appreciate where you are, and most importantly, find a way to appreciate and have gratitude for everything that you have in your life so that you will be open to more. Because when we're not in appreciation, when we're not in gratitude, we may not see what's right in front of us. And if you find that you're getting into those fears, you're getting into those concerns and those stories, and they're really keeping you from moving forward on what you know that you should be doing, then you can reach out and book like a 15-minute call. It's like a quick connect call or a triage call, if you will, where we can even chat and see if this is something that's even a hypnosis problem, like a subconscious issue. When I say hypnosis problem, it's not a problem, but something that should be dealt with hypnosis, or if it's just a matter of continuing in the conscious work of minding our thoughts, minding our attention, and that type of thing. So I'm always open and happy to do that. I want to wrap this up by saying, if you guys have a question, drop in the Facebook group, just go ahead and drop it if you have a question. But I have something really cool that's going to be coming out. I'm hoping it will be ready this weekend. We'll see. We'll see if it will be ready this weekend, but something new and different and fresh. And those of you who are in my Facebook group and on my list, you are going to be the first ones to hear about it when it is ready. Otherwise, just for fun, we have the spring equinox call that is on Monday in the Facebook group. The link is there to register. I'll be posting that over in my Instagram stories later today so that you can sign up for the spring equinox call if you want to. It's going to be a really wild hypnosis experience we're going to have next Monday, because spring is all about planting the seeds and fertilizing things and allowing them to grow. So let's do that with our vision. You get the audio to download, you get access to the video replay. So I hope to see you all then. Let's see. There's anything here sitting, what's my Dharma delivery method? Yeah, and that's one of those things where, we get to test, we get to play with things. We get to step out of perfectionism, right? We step out of perfectionism and we just see what unfolds. I'm a manifesting generator. If you're familiar with human design, I'm a manifesting generator. I am an experimenter, and I love to try new things, which always drove my mother absolutely bonkers, because she would be like, oh my God, you drive me crazy. You never finish anything. Well, I would try it, and if I didn't like it, if you don't like something, why are you going to continue to push and do it, right? But it would drive her crazy. That was one of the stories that I had to unravel, and to know that when I'm trying something and I'm experimenting, not to go all in on the investments, right? So if this is something I noticed in the past, I would try something new. And when I picked up on this pattern, at one point my husband told me, he goes, why don't you come play golf with me? He's just a hobbyist, not a great player. Anyway, he just likes to play golf once in a while. And when we lived in Connecticut, he said to me once, why don't you come play golf with me? And I'm like, oh no, you don't understand. Like, I will end up wanting to go get the clubs and the shoes and I said, I know myself well enough that I will try the golf. It'll be a little more technical. I can't win in it fast, and I'm going to spend all this money and I'm not going to enjoy it. So I had begun to figure those things out about myself before I figured out my human design, but it really explained everything. So I get curious, I play, I experiment, I give myself permission to do that. I'm just always very aware that my ideas can shift and change. So I bring that into what I do when I'm investing in my business. I'm very conscious of that. So get curious, play, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. This replay lives in the group. It's on YouTube, it's on LinkedIn. You can come back to it anytime and re-listen. Pop your questions here in the group, YouTube, LinkedIn. I try to get to those. I don't always see them right away, but pop your questions. I'm happy to answer your questions around Dharma to the best of my ability. In short, it's something that you get to explore and basically figure out for yourself. But it doesn't have to be what people tell you that it is. Bye now.